Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new legal breaking reporting and video analysis update. Former Democratic FBI James Comey, the FBI director under former President Democrat Barack Obama, made his ridiculous, vindictive, unconstitutional, illegal, unlawful, unwarranted appearance in court and entered a guilty plea. Let's view this reporting by the New York Times. But firstly, ladies and gentlemen, per former 30-year federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner, he basically pretty much does not see this case lasting nor standing. Shout out to Glenn Kirshner, again, 30-year former federal prosecutor. You rock. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the reporting. The reporting reads: Comey pleads not guilty and will seek to dismiss charges as vindictive. Ladies and gentlemen, the article reads: James Comey, the former FBI director targeted by President Trump, pleaded not guilty on Wednesday to charges he lied to Congress. His lawyer said he would move to quickly dismiss the case, calling it a vindictive and selective prosecution, which, ladies and gentlemen, Congress believes it's also a vindictive prosecution because they believe that they weren't lied to, unlike these moronic, vindictive, illegal morons under the Trump administration that are currently serving out of illegally serving out of the Eastern District of Virginia Prosecutor's Office. Mr. Comey, wearing a dark suit and accompanied by his family, stood to his full 6'8" height to offer his plea and a thank you very much to District Judge Michael Nachmanoff during a brisk court appearance. District Judge Michael Nachmanoff, during a brisk court appearance that began 5 minutes early and lasted less than half an hour. If the hearing offered a guide to the defense's strategy, it revealed little new about a case deemed so weak by career prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia that they refused to have anything to do with it. That reluctance forced the White House to quickly insert a stand-in U.S. attorney to file the indictment. Mr. Comey's lead lawyer, Patrick Fitzgerald, vented his exasperation in the hearing, saying that his, quote, first substantive contact, unquote, with prosecutors came Tuesday night. He said he still had not received specific details of the charges, including the identities of witnesses, beyond the 2-page indictment approved by a split grand jury on September 25th. The indictment of Mr. Comey is the most significant legal action yet taken against those Mr. Trump has publicly targeted, targeted for retribution. It came shortly after the president all but commanded Attorney General Pam Bondi to take legal action against Mr. Comey. Senator Adam B. Schiff, a Democrat from California, and New York Attorney General Letitia James, to which, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is in for a really bad reckoning. And I doubt he is prepared for bad news, as previously reported by me and more independent media reporters, that Elizabeth Yusi, who is the acting U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, hasn't found any evidence to prosecute Letitia James, or I can't think of his name, but or his two political foes. Let's just say that and put a pin in it, out of New York. If the detention of Mr. Trump, the intention and his allies was to humiliate Mr. Comey, they appeared to lose round one. An uninitiated observer might even have mistaken the defense for the prosecution on Wednesday, given the lopsided power dynamic. To the judge's right stood Mr. Comey. The former head of the F.B.I. and the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office, and Mr. Fitzgerald, a former federal prosecutor, known for winning convictions in major terrorism and public corruption cases. On the left, at the prosecutor's table, sat Lindsay Halligan, who was making her second ever appearance as a prosecutor, who has no prior prosecutorial experience, but is a mortgage fraud former attorney and former corrupt POS illegal attorney of Donald Trump. My editorial edition, ladies and gentlemen. As she was ladies and gentlemen, after she was hastily installed by Mr. Trump as the U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia last month. She was picked after her predecessor was ousted after finding the indictment, ladies and gentlemen, insufficient evidence to indict Mr. Comey. Ms. Halligan, a former insurance lawyer, did not speak in court. Instead, she spent the hearing rocking and nodding in her chair as a junior federal prosecutor brought in from North Carolina spoke for the Justice Department. Once Mr. Fitzgerald requested a jury trial on Mr. Comey's behalf, Judge Nachmanoff, a Biden appointee for former federal, and former federal prosecutor, public defender, made it clear he wanted a move quickly. He initially suggested the matter could be wrapped up by mid-December, but set a trial date for January 5th after both sides wanted a bit more time. The prosecutor, Nathaniel Tyler Lemons, that's Lemons, like sucking on a lemon, drew the judge's impatience when he suggested that the government needed time to introduce classified evidence and argued that the case, which hinges on a single accusation that Mr. Comey lied during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, was complex. Note, ladies and gentlemen, that, as I said at the beginning of this legal breaking reporting and video analysis update, that Congress has already said that they believe that they were not, I repeat, were not lied to. I'm a little skeptical, Judge Nachmanoff replied. This does not appear to be, to be an overly implicated case. Mr. Comey's arraignment, after all its brevity, was considerably more eventful than typical preliminary proceedings. In the most significant development, Mr. Fitzgerald said he intended to file 2 motions to dismiss the case. The first will accuse the government of vindictive and selective prosecution based on Mr. Trump's public demand that Mr. Comey be prosecuted. The second will seek to challenge what he called the illegal appointment of Miss Halligan as U.S. Attorney. Judge Nachmanoff said he would rule on the first and outsource the question of Miss Halligan's appointment to another judge. The government told the judge that it expects Mr. Comey's trial to last 2 or 3 days. The judge tentatively scheduled a follow-up hearing later this month and released Mr. Comey on his own reconnaissance with no restrictions on his travel or other activities. Politics shadowed the sunny 6th courtroom. Sunny 6th floor courtroom. Cammed to overflow the reporters, supporters of Mr. Comey, and a small contingent of local residents. A handful of protesters staged a decorous, nearly noiseless anti-Trump protest outside the courthouse, including one woman who brandished a sign that read, "Show Trial." Mr. Comey faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted, though many current and former prosecutors believe the case will be difficult to prove if his lawyers do not succeed in getting the charges quickly dismissed. He made no immediate public comments after the hearing. Mr. Halligan, who narrowly secured a 2-count indictment after a shaky solo appearance before the grand jury, has had a hard time getting anyone in her office to help her with the case, according to current and former prosecutors in the office. That's the number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Prosecutors who worked in the Eastern District of the Eastern District of North Carolina. Tyler Lemons. Again, that's Lemons, like sucking on a lemon. and Gabriel Diaz gave official notice on Tuesday that they had been assigned to the case according to court records. The case has cast a corrosive pall over the Eastern District of Virginia, one of the most important federal prosecutor's offices in the nation. Eric S. Sieber, the district's former U.S. attorney, came under pressure from Mr. Trump after telling his superiors in the Justice Department that there was not enough evidence against Mr. Comey, or in a separate potential case, Miss James. Mr. Sieber quit on September 19, hours after the president called for his ouster. Ladies and gentlemen, I will note that he was not that he did not quit and resign. He was ousted by Trump. That is one thing that the Trump administration is not going to tell you, but I will, because I will stand up to them, that Trump illegally, without cause and without evidence, ousted him. Because Eric Sieber did not obey Trump's orders and demands, which the executive branch cannot force the Justice Department to prosecute people for political gain, which is what Trump is trying to do. And he's trying to also do it for revenge and to show off. Continuing with the reporting, ladies and gentlemen. Since then, Justice Department appointees have fired without cause 2 career prosecutors who also objected to the Comey indictment. Other officials in the Eastern District of Virginia have applied for jobs on the outside or have written memos justifying their actions in case they have to contest personal actions or sue the department. The Bear Hopes 2-page indictment against Mr. Comey was signed only by Ms. Halligan, a former defense lawyer for Mr. Trump, who had been serving as a mid-level lawyer in the office of the White House staff secretary. Mr. Comey was indicted on 1 count of making a false statement and 1 count of obstruction of a congressional proceeding in connection with his testimony before a Senate committee on, in September 2020. Which I will add again, ladies and gentlemen, and remind you that Congress has said that they believe that they were not lied to. So, which means and leads me to believe that Donald Trump is doing this for political gain. 1, vindictive prosecution, selective prosecution, and just to embarrass him. Like the prick he is. The prick he is, I'm referring to Donald Trump. Mr. Comey was indicted on 1 count of making a false statement and 1 count of obstruction of a congressional proceeding in connection with his testimony before a Senate committee in September 2020. The court records indicate that Ms. Halligan also failed to get the grand jury to indict Mr. Comey on a second false charge. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this legal breaking reporting video analysis update. If you did enjoy this legal breaking reporting, please feel free to subscribe to me as well as subscribe to Glenn Kirshner. Again, he's a former 30-year federal prosecutor. And let him know that I gave him a shout out, please. And if you want to make sure you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise, please, on the side of politics, please feel free again to subscribe, follow along for more, and follow along and help me reach and achieve the goal of 300 plus subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why I'm saying 300 plus subscribers is because right after we reach and achieve the goal of 300 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve. Right after we reach and achieve the goal of 300 subscribers. And as always, I will look forward to talking to you guys in my next legal breaking video analysis reporting. And please look out for that video and legal breaking analysis reporting to drop soon.